Head instructors for Gulf Coast Saber training. We've been doing this for 6 years now. This is my husband Desso. He's also, of course, been a part of it for 6 years. Some background on us. We're a bunch of nerds, obviously. But this all got started because my son had a Star Wars birthday party, and we go all out doing homemade crafts and stuff for their parties. My husband made some wooden dowels into lightsabers, and we went outside and started whacking at each other. And then that light bulb went off on, what if we could actually do this, like professionally? And like many people who come up to us and say, wait, this is available in our area, we didn't know that there were schools actually dedicated to this. So the more we started researching, the more we became interested in it, and the technical side, not just the I'm whacking you with a glow stick side. We enjoy the technical training of it, building that martial art etiquette foundation. So we discovered it, we decided to actually take it somewhere. My husband was the one who started connecting with TPLA, the people we train from, Terrifying Light Armory. So we actually have masters who keep an eye on what we do, just like any martial arts studio. They tell us what we need to work on, what we need to teach. How many of you heard about lightsaber dueling being recognized by France? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, last year, saber fighting, there's 3 schools of fencing recognized by the French Federation, what they use for the Olympics. LED saber work is now the 4th recognized sport by them.
Important distinction.
That's how we train. We train in actual competitive dueling, but you never have to fight in our training if you're not comfortable with it. So that's kind of our background. Austin here saw us at a con, and he's been one of our most dedicated trainees. Bethany here is another one of our trainees. She left for a while and came back. We don't have a set, you have to be here for 6 months. You have to be here. We understand life happens. If you can only come once a year, we're excited you're there. Don't have a saber to work with? Doesn't matter, we can provide it to you. When we say we're a free group, we mean 100% free. The only hidden cost is if you come to training with us, we ask you to help clean the place that we train in because we're allowed to use a dojo, and as a thank you, we clean it for him. That's the only cost. So, now that you have a little bit of establishment, I'm going to ask again, does anyone have any questions you'd like us to cover during this panel? All right, yes.
Can anyone at any age be part of this?
That is a very common question, and that's one that we have in here. So, this panel, of course, is the bridge between combat and choreography. A lot of people view them as 2 separate entities. They're really not. So, Instructor Desso.
Yes.
For your particular things that you do, I lost my words. For you, what is the bridge between the 2?
There's a lot that deals with combat. That's how we got started, was combat. Because we started training in the different sword forms, we were asked to do choreography. When we did choreography the first time, we found out how much it was enjoyable and we wanted to keep doing it.
Real quick, can you guys hear him okay? All right.
Everybody in the back hear me? Okay. After we started doing that and we come back to our regular combat training, we find out that practicing through choreography actually helps us with our combat training. Does that cover your question? What was the rest of it?
It's mostly, what do you find similar and what's different about it?
Really what's the similar is you have weapons in your hand. When it comes to combat, your overall goal is trying to win in a contest of skill. When you are performing a choreography, you are trying to portray a story. That is your goal. You're trying to get that across and make sure everyone remains safe, but that story is understood.
How I explain it, if you show up to training, we ruin everything your mother taught you. Where in combat, your mother taught you to stop hitting each other. In combat, you're my target, your blade is my enemy. I need to keep that away from me while I'm trying to score a point on you. Now, it's important to understand one of the misconceptions about combat is if I swing hard, I'm doing well. If I move a lot, I'm doing great. Quality over quantity. If you're swinging hard, you're not showing control. If you're swinging a lot, you're not using your movement efficiently. That's one of the things we go over is how to show respect to your opponent, because if I want to fight, thank you for stepping into the ring with me. I appreciate you. If I lose, thank you for showing me what I need to work on. It's an honor system. Choreography, it's about putting on a show. The audience may not know the story behind your fight, but like any good story, you need that beginning, middle, and end. Why are you having this particular story, this dance? Safety first. I'm not trying to hit you this time. My goal, put your fist up and at an angle, is to miss. His hand is out here, but my goal is to sell it like I'm trying to go for him. If you hit each other during a choreography, you immediately stop at that point and review, how did this happen? Two totally different ends of the spectrum, but still dealing with respect and understanding your partner's needs too. So, for Austin, I have a question for you.
Ask me too, they're free.
Fine, I will. For you particularly, since this is a lifestyle for us and you're newer to it, do you find that choreography and combat balance each other out, or do you prefer one over the other?
Oh no, absolutely. Just they're two sides of the same coin. Essentially, they're just the
On the spot.
martial arts and combat side of it is, like she said, it goes against a lot of not only social training, but goes against a lot of natural instinct training. Part of when we start to get new trainees who are starting to get more into it, some of the exercises we do are multiple in succession strikes and blocks at a very close proximity. It's not with the intent of you're trying to hit your opponent, but what it's meant to simulate is in an actual duel or actual combat, you're going to have things colliding right by your face. And human instinct is get away from it.
And that's exactly what I was going to go over. Natural instinct is to do this. We have a lot of people when they start off, they do this. You're trying to create that distance between the two. Even in choreography, you run into that issue. Distancing in a fight, you're making yourself into a target. In choreography, you're ruining that distance of safety. So, the other thing I want to go over real quick, how many of you think you need some kind of background in martial arts when you were like in kindergarten or something to participate in this? I thought the same thing too.
Well, dance.
Dance does help. If you have a sword background, we have people that have come to us with German longsword, with rapier, with all sorts of different fighting backgrounds. HEMA, if you know what that is.
Kendo, Olympic fencing, the list goes on.
We've had people where they came to us because they were in a car wreck and they needed something to get them up and moving, like physical therapy. We have all sorts of different backgrounds that come to our group, all different ages. Deso, for you, have you ever seen anyone where we have not been able to help them train?
Everybody needs to start at their own level. If you're having severe issues like the individual with the car wreck and they could barely lift their arm here, now they're here all the way around after a year of practice, because it gets that motivation. You get inspired. You go from, how do I do this, to, oh, that feels good. There's a huge desire will get you where you want to go.
And if I can add on to that, it's very much because we have different aspects, like she was saying, with, yes, we have dueling, yes, we have choreography, they're not required, because one of the biggest things that she's always said is you get in what get out what you put into it. So there's not everybody that we have are like us who wants to get the physical discipline and the physical training that it provides for the exercise and all that, or necessarily physical therapy. There are some people that they do it very lightly because they want to have a bunch of people to come and socialize with and talk about, or maybe that their sports, different sport different similar style combat sports even come out to train with us. They have a very good friend of theirs. He's a very, very prominent individual in the Dagobah battle games, and he comes to train with us almost weekly. And then on top of that, as far as those physical limitations, we have one individual she's very, very active, and she's become very, very talented, not only the combat side, but also the choreography side. She's getting very, very heavy into the FFE, and she's been with us for about 3 years. We've only recently discovered about 6 or 7 months ago that she has a shoulder, what is it,
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but everyone comes to us with different needs. So my advice to you, know your limits, know when it's comfortable to push back, be honest with your trainers. If you have a heart problem, if you have a metal knee, if you have any issue, tell us. We're not gonna go, oh, well, I'm sorry, this isn't for you. It's okay. That means we need to step back and evaluate what we can do to help you.
And finally, to add on to that, if you are concerned, talk to your doctor.
Please. We are not medical advice people. We want to help you, but we want you to be safe with what you do. So it is definitely available to everyone. Hold on. With that, how many of you worry about the choreography side because you see the big flashy stuff on screen, like they're jumping off walls, the wire fu type things? How many of you think that that makes it unattainable? I feel like hands should be up, but that's okay. For you guys, do you feel that that is a necessary element of your choreography?
So I'm going to go back to what I said originally. It's about the story. If your story is about two super kung fu people, say like Forbidden Kingdom kind of level, then yes, that's what you're looking for. If you're talking about two high school students that suddenly have lightsabers, probably not. Probably going to go with a more basic, grounded combat.
Episode 4, where you have Vader and Obi-Wan fighting, and they convey two weathered warriors that are beyond their prime. They didn't need a lot of flash to get the point that they're tired, and they don't want to have to be doing this anymore. They didn't think they were going to be doing it again. You still got that energy from it. Of course, also during that time, because as fans breathed way too much into it, they also didn't know where they were going to go with that during that time. There's a story that Instructor Desso here was telling me. Mark Hamill in episodes 5 and 6 wanted to do the flashy stuff they ended up doing in 1, 2, and 3. And he was told, no, we don't do that here. That's not what we're doing. And so when those movies came out, Mark Hamill's like, but I wanted to. He ended up doing traditional kendo training for those films. There is something for everyone. And when you're putting together a choreography, you think, how far am I willing to push myself? Because I know I've learned a lot of stuff I never thought I was going to. Like how to do cartwheels with weapons in hands and stuff. Do we require everyone to do that? Definitely not. But if that's something you want to learn, come on in. Let's see what we can do. Austin, quick answer. What about for you? Do you feel that it's a requirement to be able to do that flashy stuff?
Nope, because different people, like Desso was saying, different stories. Even if you can't do that flashy, there's different ways that you can portray somebody that can't do that. Maybe you may not be able to do that flashy thing, but this particular story may involve an individual, some experienced master who's up against some young, hot-headed, thinks he knows everything, and it's just simple, just no.
So different levels of training depending on the story again. So bridging, because that's what this panel's all about, is that bridge. Let's bridge it to combat. Having a background, we've already discussed that you don't really need one. Do you have to be willing to do balls to the wall type fighting in order to compete in combat?
Recent conversation with my master, and I quote, if you are coming to my class, you are learning the first form, period. Because everything is in the basics. Winning, blocking, striking, all of that's in the basics. That's where you want to start. That's where you will be. In the end, that's what's going to get you through. All the other flash isn't necessary. Looks nice, may give you a little bit of an edge, but the basics are what it is.
So how many of you would not want to compete because you're afraid of getting hit? How many of you, that would be the thing that keeps you from stepping into the ring? Okay, Bethany, you're a great example for this. Now that you've actually done it, how does it feel for you?
I'm still bad at hesitating.
But is it still scary, the idea of being up
Being
there and
hit?
doing
Nah.
it? The worst that happens is you get hit. Our instructor also told us that we should make this into a shirt. We did the stupid so you don't have to. There's a reason we require gear if you're going to duel. We're not just going to hand you these polycarbonate plastic blades with airplane quality metal and say, okay, go for it. You are required to wear gloves, at least for the light, casual, I just want a wacky stick. If you're wanting to do higher levels, we provide fencing masks. We provide chest gear. Gentlemen, we don't provide this, but you need to bring a cup. Ladies, there's a special plastic plate we wear on our chest because we don't want bits and bobs getting injured. But there's a reason we do this, because we've broken things, we've hurt each other, and we realized it's not something to brag about. I see people all the time, oh look, I got this bruise. And when you first started out, you're like, yeah! And now we go, oh no, something went wrong. It shouldn't be there.
It should be a learning moment of how did I get that? Let's not do that again.
So dueling is always scary at first. It's always scary to try something new. Like with choreography, once you do it and you look at how far you've come, you go, oh yeah, that's actually pretty awesome. For those of us that do choreography, we always see improvement in our fighting. For those of us that fight, we notice that, oh, this translates really well to choreography. So there is a bridge there even as well. Stepping up and getting started is always the scariest part. Let's say you're not wanting to be competitive in the FFE rules, you just want to try out what you've learned. There is space for that. We're not going to tell you, no, get in the ring and fight now.
Lots of gray area.
We love creating games that you can have fun with and still practically practice what you've learned. There's always room for that. So, moving on from there. Are you guys having a good time?
Oh, yeah.
Is this good information? Excellent.
I was beginning to wonder, I thought maybe I was sleeping.
How many of you look at actors and think to yourself, they don't really do the fighting? That's just actors getting paid to do the thing. Does anyone actually think that?
Some of them, maybe.
Some of them maybe? Okay, so Deso. I saw a generous head shake. I love that no. For you, what is your opinion on actors picking up and doing fight in film?
There's very few. If you see an actor who's fighting in a film, there's very, very few and far between that they haven't had some kind of training to get to that. Most often, even if it's a 12-week crash course before the film begins, before they start production, they go through a rigorous training. Who's familiar with Donnie Yen? Yeah, Edmond, that whole series. So his primary discipline is not Wing Chun. I forget what it is, but he studied under Ip Man's son, I think it was, for 9 weeks to play that role. Even as a fighter, he went through that rigorous training. And this goes true for The Matrix, for Lord of the Rings. Everybody goes through all these training regimens. Pirates of the Caribbean is another really good one. They had to go through that as well. They go through this practice so that they can make it look good. Does that answer your question?
And you also pick up some disciplines along the way. So there is actual training that goes into it. Now, not all of us have the budget to hire someone professional to come in and whip us into shape. However, we're a free group that can kind of help you with that. Get you started. So I'm sure that we come off like, this is what we live and breathe, and it honestly is at this point. But one of the other things is, one of the misconceptions for combat and choreography is you have to know everything about everyone that's a part of it. Every name, if someone throws out hey, do you know so-and-so who does this? And you have to say, why, yes, I do. Here is their Wikipedia page information. Do you find that to be a necessary element?
Absolutely not. And this isn't just my opinion. This is like my master's opinion, because I went to them, hey, do I need, you really don't. You really don't need to know any of that. But for me, I find it inspiring to go, hey, I'm in the same beginning mindset as Bob Anderson, who played Darth Vader in episodes 5 and 6 for the stunts, who trained countless people for Princess Bride and Errol Flynn, and it's just all these things. That's where I am. Holy crap. And suddenly I'm down the rabbit hole on YouTube learning about all these people and their histories.
So with that, now that we've gone through some information, this might spark something. Does anyone now have any questions about what we do? Or maybe something you want to learn about choreography or combat, dealing with film, stage, whatever? Anything? Yes?
I know that in some movies, it's like they'll do like fight scenes, like weapon fight scenes a couple times, because they'll have like the full like weapons that are like for the actual scene, and then the weapons they actually fight with that are sometimes like cut down.
Yes.
And then all that. How does that then change it when you don't have the full length blade?
Personal experience, having done film which was about fighting. So you have to do what's called a master shot, which is where you go through and you do the entire fight. When you go to do those particular scenes, you have to learn how to, let's say the scene is I need to stab Austin. And that is my goal. You're standing in front of me. It would be you stop here. You have to be able to hold it. Most of the time, that's how we did it. They switch it out, and you have to be able to maintain. And you just have to do it over and over until they get that shot that they need. So it's a lot of being able to go through that motion and stop, and then pick it right back up as though you have that same intensity again. Now that's how we filmed it. I'm sure there's other tricks in the trade that they use in bigger productions, but a lot of it is just repetition, doing the same thing over and over with the various weapons. Sometimes they'll have you go through and do all the actions with one weapon, and then you go through and you do all those actions with that half blade so they can splice it together when they need to. The Witcher is actually a good example of that, because when Geralt does some of his stabbing motions, they are using those trick blades, but it's so seamless you can't tell. They did a really good job.
And
For
then
that, it's editing.
And then in the up close, they're using rubber blades, so there's
Yeah.
no danger of cutting someone's face that has to heal. for
There's still risk of injury with any weapon. And the difference between stage combat and film, stage, you don't get a redo. When you're on stage, you have to get it down that once. So one of the things you have to be good at is if you mess up your choreography, find a way to cover it up and bow out gracefully, because you have to remember, your audience doesn't know you messed up. Same thing in combat. If you missed a shot and you were really excited about it, no one's gonna know that you messed up. You know that. And you have to learn acting, even with choreography, on how to sell, no, we've got this, we're confident. Austin and I, several times, we will mess up a shot and we keep going. And no one's the wiser if we mess up. However, if you go, people are gonna notice.
Perfect examples, Bethany 2 years ago.
That's actually, so every year Pensacon asks us to do a stage performance, which we'll be doing tonight during the cosplay contest while the judges are judging. Ray Park was here that year, so we decided to do the Obi-Wan Darth Maul fight. I was the only one to mess up horribly, and we were the only ones during rehearsal to get it every time. You can overtrain a choreography, by the way. So we had it down perfect backstage every time. Get on stage, get through the first half, my brain blanks. So I go to walk off and then my brain kicked back in, oh yeah, there's a kick, I know that part. Bethany started backing up trying to see what I was going to do, so I do my side kick and she immediately jumps back into it. You train with your partner to know each other's body language. Okay, this is where we're at now. It's a mutual understanding. Now, how we train you guys to start with, if you ever come to our training, we train off of a group called Lumineers. They have what's called CMs, choreographed movement. Everybody learns them. So if Bethany can't show up for that choreography, I can do it with Austin or with Desso, and we all know the same parts. It's a lot of fun, it's very simple, and it's also really good exercise.
Tack on to that is that even if you have a group of people that all know the same stuff, like she was saying, different people have different energies. We can't, if Anna and I do a choreography, there's a joke in the group. It's like, we don't know slow. We just go like that. I can't do that with some of our other members, kind of thing, because it's not, yes, they may know the actual motions, but their affinity to it is not quite at that level, and not just even at that point. Different people have different interpretations of it. So it becomes, like she said, learning your partner's body language, and the more you are able to do it with someone, the more you're going to be able to recognize and pick up on that. Part of the reason why the three of us have such good chemistry and Bethany is because we've done a lot of choreographies together, so we know what that spark is that's going on, and with that kind of tempo that we find ourselves
in dueling and with choreography, it's about trust. You have to trust each other. You've got weapons coming at each other. I mean, you kind of need trust. Moving on from there, what are some resources for these fine people to look at if they want to do this on their own? Let's say you guys are from out of town and you can't come to us. We encourage you to come to our Facebook page because we post all that information so you guys can look at it. What are some resources they can use?
For those of you not on Facebook, you can go to Terra Prime Light Armory's YouTube channel, and they'll have the basic training that we started with.
Put TPLA in, not Terra Prime Light Armory.
TPLA will definitely get you where you need to go. That's one. Another one is sabercraft.org for the Lumineers. That's a really good source. But if you're looking for like inside tips and tricks, Google is your friend.
Yes.
How do I choreograph a fight? How do I insert X thing? Looking at that, and it's going to come up with a list of things. Go through, find what works for you. I did a lot of research here over the past couple days about that. Gak Attack. Anybody seen? There is a YouTube video where it's this guy fighting Sith ninjas as he goes into like a warehouse, and then it ends in a slow-mo. He's coming down, and then it does like a flash, and there's a bunch of people on a playground.
Going lightning, 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 and they're all
dude's
just on swing
swinging on a
sets with like
swing
towels over their
set and
heads.
falls off and hurts himself, and it's telling that story. Gak Attack is one of my favorite people when it comes to telling stories. That's somebody you can find on YouTube as well.
Wait, check.
Okay. Questions on that? No? I couldn't see it.
What's that?
So that's a
Jolteon
choreography we
is
made up.
superior to Glaceon. Okay.
See, in cosplay. That was one that we made up and we've been working on. We encourage creativity. We have one person who wants to do a choreography to 8675309 because those are our striking points. We have one girl who is designing a choreography based entirely around girls just want to have fun. That's another thing I wanted to touch on for the ladies in the audience. We're made to feel that we have to push harder, we have to train harder, and we have to be more extra. I don't know how many guys I've had tell me, you can't fight in 6-inch heels, and I'm going, but I just did. Or when I'm trying to teach kids, I have the bigger students, because I am small, come up, I'll take it easy on you. I'm like, oh, thank you. Because I have 2 seconds. Because I'm small. Ladies, no matter your size, no matter your age, no matter your background, we all look good with a weapon in our hand. This is available to everyone. Gentlemen, no matter what you've seen, no matter how you're told you should look, not everyone is going to be Geralt of Riviera with how they look. That is not needed. That's not real. That's not what we do. All body types, all backgrounds, all health types, We want you to come and play with us, because in the end, that's what we're doing. We're encouraging a healthy, fun environment with some discipline and with some flair to it. Does that sound like something you guys would be interested in? Yeah? Yes. Are you raising your hand as a yes, or you have a question?
Yes.
Okay. So, we're going to be wrapping this up soon. I would love to open it up for any questions we might not have talked about that you have. Yes?
Just a movie fan. What's the